All right, I got the hood loaded up in Mavi, and we're gonna go down to the shop to take a look at the Jeep. Hey, it's Steve at the Redneck Garage. Well, it's the next day after painting the Jeep. I thought I'd pull it out, let it hit some sunlight, see what it looks like in the light. So here we go. Looks pretty fine. I'm very happy with it. It needs to be wet sanded and buffed, but looks great. Super happy with that. So one less thing. I do got some cleanup to do in the shop though. Yay, that's my favorite thing. Why do I have a barber's chair in my shop? Well, that's a funny story, actually. Jennifer, my wife, who has a hair salon up front here, I walked in one day and the chair was back here, and I said, "What's with the chair in the shop?" And she said, "Oh, well, I thought you might like sitting in it, and I didn't have time to throw it away, so I guess I've got a gift of a barber chair that either I can throw away or use." It is kind of comfortable though. Okay, back to the Jeep. Overall, it turned out really well. Here's the hood. I went ahead and brought it over from the house. It does need to be buffed and sanded one more time. But the color match is spot on. No problem at all with that. And the only issues that I had, I got one little run right here. And I got some solvent trap on the top of the fenders. I've really laid that clear and really heavy right in here. And you can kind of see those little dots. And those aren't trash, those are solvent trap, where you've got so much material, air bubbles come up trying to get out. It should sand out and buff, no problem. Otherwise, I'll have to just shoot a little clear on the top of those. But overall, the color, the dispersion, everything looks amazingly good. Oh, I did get just a slight little run right there. Okay, but I'm really happy with that. So the next thing I have to do is go ahead and wet sand it and buff it so I can start putting all my externals on. I still have to paint the windshield and the cowl here, and two doors and the tailgate. Behind the hood, it's kind of hard to see. I have a new little spray booth. The big one I've just put up on the ceiling with some carabiners. But this one is a small one. It's a one fan. It should be easy to use to do the, you can see the windshield back there, and the doors are underneath. So that's the next thing I'm going to get prepped. But as far as the Jeep goes, the tub and everything, I think it looks fantastic. Since it's still the weekend, what I'd love to do is go ahead and start wet sanding and buffing it out. But if you can wait a few days and let that clear completely harden up, especially where you've got it on there real thick, you're way better off. It's going to buff out better, and you're not going to burn through as easily because the clear will be a little bit harder. So that's what all I can do right now is just wait a few days and let her rip, tater chip. It's been a long, hot day for me at work, and now I'm out working on the Jeep. So what a beautiful thing that is. I'm with Blue the TJ, and I had a little bad news. I had good news, but I had bad news. The good news was that the paint job, overall, the tub looks beautiful. I just need to wet sand just a little bit and buff. But the fenders, something happened to them, and they got either trash or it almost looks like solvent trap. I think maybe I laid the clear too thick to start with, and it caused some bubbles. They dried. I tried to sand them out and buff it, and I still had some pits in there. And I was just like, you know what? I've got to repaint the, well, I got a little bit more to repaint. I've got the tailgate, I've got the cowl, and the two doors to repaint. I'm thinking I'm going to do the cowl and the tailgate, and then the two fenders, because I'm going to repaint these, because if I'm already got to paint something else, I might as well prep the two fenders. There's not very much, and just reshoot those real quick, because it is pretty noticeable. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about, and let me get these things prepped. You can kind of see it's very glossy, but you can see these, it almost looks like bubbles in the clear, and then that's a pit, bubble, bubble, pit. I don't know what that is. It looks like solvent trap. Everywhere else looks good. This is just raw, but let me show you the other side where I buffed out this one little section here. The sides look perfect, no problems whatsoever with those. Just a little bit of buffing and wet sanding on those of 2000 grit. And I started sanding down this fender, but this paint looks absolutely beautiful. So I'm good with that. I'm going to spend a little bit of time sanding down these two front fenders, and you can see there's really not a ton to paint on those. This is fine. And I will be in good shape to repaint those two front fenders, and they will look gorgeous. You can see the pits. That's a pretty predominant one right there and there. So I got to sand it down until I get rid of those, and it looks like it went down to the base of the clear, but just on this part. So once I get these sanded down, awesome. For the rest of the sides of the Jeep, I'm taking my Dynabraid sander polisher, which is very smooth. It's got another backup pad on it, so it's got a lot of softness to it, with a 2000 grit wet or dry buffing pad. So I'm going over it and just knocking off a little bit of that orange peel, and it should buff out just beautiful. So basically everything from the fenders back is good to go. So I'm working on that. I'm not trying to remove a lot of material. I'm just trying to get it smoothed out, getting any nibs, things like that off of it before it gets buffed out. That's one night of my life I won't get back. Sanding, beautiful, love it. Love sanding. It's such a beautiful, time-consuming effort. As far as the Jeep goes, I have one little spot here that needs to be blended in. I had a little booger right there. The two fenders are prepped for paint. I still have to look over them just a little bit. And then the sides should be ready for buffing, but I'm not going to buff until I get the front painted and then just buff it all at the same time because you don't want to get that polishing compound just gets everywhere, and it's just a big huge mess. So I'm in really good shape with this. I got to get the windshield prepped. I want to get the windshield ready to go. The doors will be the last thing, and get the tailgate ready to put on. So I put everything back together and I could actually hang the doors while I'm prepping them. So I could get it ready to put back together here very shortly. This weekend is my goal, is to get this painted. I don't think I have any birthday parties, christenings, grandbabies, dance recitals, anything like that. So I'm hoping this weekend to get the two fenders painted, get the windshield prepped and the tailgate, get those things in paint. And I have a smaller paint booth that we're going to try out, where I'm just going to pull in the front and then have hopefully enough room to do the other small pieces. And I need to do the cowl so I can get that put on. But I'm moving along. I think it's going to be well worth the effort to go ahead and sand it down and redo the front two fenders, because it's a small area. And why leave things jacked up if you don't have to? If you can just, spend another hour getting it prepped and paint, make sure it looks nice. I mean, that's kind of my thing. The side, you can see the difference between the front two fenders and the back section. It's still drying out pretty well, but this turned out great. The paint was awesome. If you're doing buffing, do not try to sand this down and buff it. Just let it rip, tater, chip. You do not want to get in that little bitty area trying to buff that after you sand it. Just leave it alone and go on. Most of this is going to be covered with armor. And this side looks good. This side sanded out real nice too. So got one little run right there I'm going to have to hit with some 2000 grit before I buff it out, but it looks good. Let her dry out and get these things shot, and I will be super happy. Prep, and more prep on the TJ. Every time I turn around, there's one more thing that I need to freaking fool with, but it's getting closer. I got the cowl over here, and I didn't know how bad it was. That was part of the peeling, crackling, alligatoring, and I sanded on this thing for probably 30-45 minutes. This little bitty piece of metal to get all that alligatoring off, and it's going to have to be primed, which I was hoping I wouldn't have to do, but it's definitely going to have to be primed. So we'll take a look at that in just a second. The front fenders, I sanded a little bit more to get those pits out. It went all the way down to the base coat blue, so basically that means repaint. So that's awesome. I got the windshield out, started washing it. Let's take a little bit closer look at the TJ progress. Lord have mercy. This cowl was in such terrible shape. Terrible, terrible, terrible. High build primer. It had one little ding right here. I filled it up with a little bit of Bondo, sand that down, primer the crap out of it. It'll be fine. All right. Windshield. The inside color is close enough. You don't see much of it, so I'm just going to shoot the outside for right now unless I change my mind. I've got it wet sanded, and the fenders I think are wet sanded down, so I'm just going to wash everything real quick right now, and I'm going to do a little bit of spot repair right here on the cowl. A little blending. There was a little booger right here, so hopefully that'll come out well. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to wash everything down, and we'll see what we look like. I've been working on this dang cowl a while. You can see the alligatoring right here, and it does not sand easy right there. And you got to get all this off, because if it starts peeling off from here, it doesn't matter what kind of top coat you put on. I've got most of it off. Just about, well, yeah, I got just about everything down off that end. I've got just this end to go. Wash it, and then it should be ready to prime. But this thing's giving me a fit. Well, this should be the last wash before I get to primer it, and this thing gave me a run for my money, I'll tell you that. The green factory primer did not want to feather out at all, and the blue was all cracked up. So, I mean, it was just in terrible shape. And I had one little ding, which was minor compared to the crap I had to deal with getting this thing sanded down. So, I'm going to wash it real well, let it dry, and then hopefully I can get a little bit of primer on this thing, let it dry overnight, wet sand it, and maybe shoot it tomorrow. I don't know. But holy moly, this thing, it did not want to sand out. Do I hear something? What was that? Oh Lord, here we go. All right. Oh, Randy's here!
Yeah.
What are you doing? That looks like beer.
That's beer.
How come it's coming this way instead of the other way?
I always bring it in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah. I want to search for a car.
Okay.
For sale by owner.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess the dealership didn't go well.
Huh? I'll tell you about that story.
Okay, that's a good story, but
Nancy doesn't like to be pressured.
Well, she's married to you, so that's a lot of pressure. He brought some Yingling Lager. He likes that. I like the light, but
cheap.
It's inexpensive. It's not cheap beer.
Yeah, it's on sale.
Right.
It's on sale. It's a really good price.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Kroger. Yeah, only like $14 after tax.
That's a good deal here in Tennessee.
For a 12-pack? Yeah.
Yes.
As much as you drink?
Well, I'd go through a 12-pack a day, so. All right, we're going to get caught up. Bye. Man, that is some thick primer. It is on there good, so I'm going to have to let this dry a couple days. Make sure all the solvents are out of it and that it shrunk up all it's going to shrink up before I start doing any wet sanding on it. But this should look fine, but I don't think I'm going to be able to paint it this weekend. Well, this thing came out like crap. Where I put on the primer, there's something in the substrate layer that caused the primer to pop up and to blister and I've never had so many problems with one little stinking part in my life, let me tell you. So I ordered another one, a used one for 60 bucks off of eBay, and I'm going to work on that one rather than spending a lot more time dealing with this one, because it's got a pretty good dent right here and it's got another dent over here, and I don't really want to work all that stuff out again. So for now I'm going to get a used one. Just throw this one in the dumpster, I guess. Sometimes things just don't go your way. This thing's aggravating me. The Jeep is all prepped. I'm going to start the masking process of doing the front two fenders. I'm going to shoot the windshield and the tailgate, I think. I think I've got that ready. And we're going to not do the doors or the cowl at this point because they're jacked up. All right, I got it all masked off, ready to shoot. Got to wipe down, tack it off. And I'm about to set up my small paint booth and we'll see how that one looks. So this is the small paint booth and it frills it up pretty well. It'd be really, really tight trying to paint the whole Jeep in it, but what's going to happen is, well, my plan is when the sun goes down and it starts cooling off a little bit outside, I'm going to back it up and give me enough room to put in the windshield and the tailgate, and then I'm just going to paint the front of it, and it should have plenty of room for that. For painting smaller stuff, this booth would be great. So anyway, I'm going to be using it for that tonight. Alright, so I just deflated it. It's sitting on top of the Jeep. I got both of those, the windshield and the tailgate, ready to shoot. And the cowl vent I'm ready to throw away, but I'll keep it just in case. I had to open the door to get the paint booth set up, so it's about 92 degrees outside and like super humid. And having that door open, it went from like 72 to almost 80 degrees in here, and it is sweaty. So tonight it's supposed to get down to 69 degrees, so as soon as the sun goes down, it should get about right for painting. It's 4:30 on a Sunday morning. Came in here to paint, and they're over there thumping at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm trying to just film painting my dang vehicle. All right. I've got about everything set up. I would say this, the paint booth is very nice. It's small and compact. If you're going to be doing smaller things, then it would work okay. If you're going to be trying to do a full paint job, if you're trying to do a full car, you might want to go to the bigger model, because this one is pretty tight. I'm ready to rock and roll. Honestly, I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep this shop. May not be much longer, because I can't really film easily with this noise that's going on next door. This place costs me $900 a month, and the noise is non-stop. Every video that I do, I have to edit out this garbage that they're pumping out over there, and most of it is their subwoofers. They've got subwoofers against the metal wall, and it really is starting to PO me off quite a bit. So we'll see how long we're here. But I'd rather work out in the snow at my house and be able to film with a dog barking once in a while than listen to this all the time. You can tell I don't like it. Alright, I'm mixing up the paint. Or a little rock. I'm mixing up the paint and then load it in the gun, and I should be able to rock and roll on this. I've wiped it down with some rubbing alcohol. Next is a tack cloth. I always go over it with a tack cloth and we'll wipe her down. Okay, I'm done with the painting. Got the inflatable booth deconstructed. Got the Jeep back inside. How did it come out? Well, the Jeep itself, the tub, the front fenders, and the front grille, I think it turned out beautiful. It looks great. It'll buff out just fine. Be able to start putting stuff back together. The windshield, yeah, pretty good. The tailgate went to crap. Now, I can tell you what I struggled with. The tub itself, it looks great. Good color. It's got just minimal orange peel in it. It should buff out fine. Where I touched up the grill, that'll buff out nice, and this fender should be just great. So that was awesome. And the windshield, for the most part, top 100%. The bottom, you can see there's just some little, I think those will stand out okay. That's moisture. That's what that is. And then the tailgate, It's kind of hard to see. You can see all those little dimples. That's water. And it's 100% my fault. Anytime you do a painting job, you're going to look back, hindsight, and say, what did I do right and what did I do wrong? Well, what did I do right? Well, the tub looks great. I think the fenders turned out well. The tailgate, yuck, and the windshield is passable. What did I do right? Well, prep, primer, cleaning, all that was great. I had problems with moisture. I failed to drain my compressor. It's a little bitty compressor, and I think it had a lot of moisture inside of it. And instead of using my Fujitsu Turbo airless sprayer, which rarely has any type of moisture problems whatsoever, just the way they're designed, I went with a compressor because I thought, just do the front fenders. Well, it was more than I thought. The compressor ran a lot, created a bunch of moisture, and that's what toasted the rear tailgate door. I may be able to wet sand it down, shoot a little more clear on it, but more than likely I'll probably have to repaint the outside of it, which is fine, no big deal. The front fenders are going to buff out just great, and I'm happy about that. The color match is perfect, so 99% I'm happy with as far as like the outcome. And what did I learn today? Well, I learned use my Fujitsu Turbo, drain your compressor, and also get some air filters for moisture during the summer when it's super humid. I mean, it is humid. I'm sweating inside here. That's going to give you issues. And the paint booth was a little small. If you're doing just a hood or some parts and pieces, great. I think it was absolutely perfect. If you're trying to do a whole car, there's no way. It's just, unless it's a real small compact car, it'd be probably great for motorcycles or piece parts. So that's really my thoughts on the paint booth. It did keep me from getting paint all over the floor, that's for sure. I'm tired. It's about 8 o'clock. I've been up here for about 4 hours, start to finish. I'll do some more cleanup when I get back, but I should be able to put the windshield on, the hood on. I got a new cowl coming, cowl vent. What else? Oh, and I can start prepping the doors. This thing's coming back together. I appreciate you watching, appreciate you being a subscriber. I'm glad it's quiet over there. I'm David from the Redneck Garage. Keep turning wrenches.